She gave me my first job when I came out of the hospital after I had been dealing with some severe health things, and really just kind of helped me during that season.
What does it mean to discipline your disappointments?
I have disciplined the disappointments you are going through right now. It's okay to have it. We don't want to pretend we don't, especially as leaders. We don't want to shove things under the rug because they're going to get bigger and bumpier and you're going to trip on that rug. So clean it out, let it be, vent it out, and let's move on with it. And here's my number one thing for me is I push in more and I retreat less. There's no social media until I have the Word of God. Would you wake up first thing in the morning and open your front door and let the entire world come and throw its trash in your living room? I am comfortable with chaos to a certain degree. If God created every single season, then there is a reason for it. And I actually have literally studied plants and things that happen in the winter with roots and certain necessity. Yes, I've really paralleled that to life.
Hello, and welcome to Keep Shining with Stuart MacMillan. I am so excited today to have the honor and privilege to interview our next guest. Her name is Connie Sanchez, and she has spoken to over 50,000 people across stages nationwide. She's really gifted at helping women lead with courage, clarity, and faith. And she has the ability to combine her deep experience in leadership and personal development with a practical, down to earth delivery that inspires so many people and inspires them to action. She is grounded in service, growth, and legacy. She's a mom, a businesswoman, a leader, a pastor's wife. Please help me welcome Connie Sanchez.
Keep shining, be a light. You were made to be a lighthouse, shine bright. Keep shining, be a light.
Well, I'm delighted today at Keep Shining to have a good friend and a powerful leader, Connie Sanchez, with us. Connie, welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stuart. I'm excited.
To start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you live. Just you've undergone some pretty amazing transition in the last little while. So.
Yes, definitely. Oh my. Well, just a few changes in the past year. So, like Stuart said, my name is Connie Sanchez, and I am a pastor's wife. My husband leads campuses. He came from a worship background, so we've been in ministry together for about 16, 17 years. And we have two daughters. Roslyn is 8 and Everdeen is 5. And we recently, 9 months ago, left San Diego, California, where we were born and raised, and took a big leap of faith to move to Columbia, Tennessee, where we felt like God was calling us.
That's not a minor change.
Yeah, not a small change at all. Little different weather, a little bit. So we're here now. He's leading a campus here, and I also decided this year to step away from some of my business endeavors and the way I guess I have traditionally led to really focus on our girls and start homeschooling and just take on this new church and see where God has us. So that's where we are right now.
That's pretty darn exciting. So I stay in touch with you and Phil fairly regularly, and
Yes.
the journey seems to be like God is coming through in a regular way, isn't he? So
He really is. It has been, as you know, Stuart, we share this all the time. When you take big steps of faith for God, you will be surprised at what he does. And it never ceases to amaze us, what happens when we do that. So
I know you didn't come by the decision to move as a big decision, and I know you prayed about it and spent a lot of time seeking wise counsel. I know for me, I always go, okay, read. For me, it's read the Bible, but read, pray, and seek wise counsel. And I know that you went through all those steps. It's interesting though, Connie. I see people making bold moves like that, and then all of a sudden tracking back like God kind of changed his mind or something.
Right.
You've seen that happen too.
Oh, yeah. And I think that is just sometimes we think that, following God is going to look this way on the other side. Like, I took my big step, where are you, God? It should look like this. And that is where we can falsely think that he's not in us, or maybe we made the wrong decision. So I think that happens a lot, is just looking to external things as your comfort and
Yeah.
clarification. And that's not always how he works. Sometimes it's
Uh,
going to take a little bit before the fruit comes.
Sometimes he wants us to go through storms because he anticipates the coming out on the other side of the storm. He anticipates who you're going to be
Yeah.
coming out, and he knows that you need that storm to be the best version of yourself, right? In
Yes.
order to
And
do something else that's coming, you know?
I mean, we talk about it a lot. We used to share this. We use the storm analogy a lot in seas and obviously the
Yeah.
lighthouse a lot. But it's like, if you're in a storm, would you want the captain of the ship to be somebody who's probably weathered a storm before? Yeah, you probably do.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
storms are necessities in growing our character leadership and all of the
Yeah.
above.
I think oftentimes we think, well, I feel like God's moving me to do this. We think that God moving you to do it means that it will be, rainbows and sunshine. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the case, right? So tell me, you've been in Tennessee now for 9 months. What have been the highs and lows?
Ooh, the temperature. It's literally been high and low. Oh my
I think you
goodness.
actually had snow, didn't you?
We did
Like,
have
yeah, because
snow.
the
Yeah.
area you're just outside of Nashville, they don't
Yeah.
usually get snow, but I think you got snow, right?
We did get snow twice, so our girls were in heaven, obviously, with that. Just along with what we were saying, the high is knowing that we did not make this up and that this truly was of God. And that is what has to anchor us when all of the adrenaline falls apart, all of the rush of the new exciting thing dissipates, and life just sets in. What is going to anchor you? And so it's certainly not going to be the weather. That's
Right.
been a little bit of a low for me, a struggle. Um, and having no family here, and trying to build a whole new support system and all of that. But the high has been, this is where we know God's called us. And so
Yeah,
we're excited for what he is doing.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And how's Phil's job going?
It's going good. Ministry life is, we always say, don't get into ministry life if you don't want adventure, surprise, and
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of change. And so it's good. I feel like he is in a place where he feels like he's using his gifts and talents in every way that he can. And that's what we as leaders, what I know you and Deb desires, to just use the gifts God's given you to further his kingdom and to help other people. And so he's in a place where he's doing that. And it's really
that's
cool to
awesome.
see. Yeah.
That's awesome. So one of the things that always amazed me about you was the way that you prioritize and the way that you got so many different things done. And I know you've added to that homeschooling your two girls. So you were already, you're an amazing leader, particularly a leader of women. I think I just watching you in action was always a joy. You're a pastor's wife. You're creative. You're doing lots of different things. You're a speaker. And then you said, "Hey, I'm not doing enough. I think I want to homeschool my kids." You moved your family across the continent, and
Mm,
I watched, being close to you and Phil. Phil had to jump into his new role really quickly, so that left you with all the stuff around housing and furniture and what are we going to do? And I think you're building a house as well at the same time. It's like for all the women out there,
mm,
particularly, how do you do that? Like, how do you
mm.
how do you prioritize?
Oh, thank you, Stuart. Well, first of all, you're so sweet for all those comments. If I'm being honest with you, I would say the first thing is truly, I am comfortable with chaos to a certain degree. I have gotten to a place where I control the controllables
Right.
and everything else is like this, open hands with what comes and goes. And if you don't adopt that mindset at some point let's just take the work out of it, in just your motherhood journey,
Right.
it's going to be very, very stressful. You're going to always feel like you're, bumping your head up against the wall, not accomplishing things, because life doesn't work like that. Motherhood
Right.
is not just, this is what we're going to do at these times and this
Yeah.
is what's going to happen,
There's not a
so
there's not a plan. There's no program.
there's really no program. There are definitely 100% foundational things, and I'll share just a couple of those. And then you keep the foundation, and the rest you got to be fluid with. And so I have a certain degree of comfortable in the chaos. Foundational things with prioritizing all the stuff that comes my way and what I take on or what I don't take on is really what you had just mentioned earlier is this in alignment with what God is calling Phil and I to do right now? So
Mm-hmm.
he is in the
Mm-hmm.
conversation with me. I don't take things on without consulting him and saying, is this
Yeah.
really moving us towards
Yeah.
the goals and the dreams God has
As
for
a
our
family
family
and a couple, and yeah.
and in our values? And is this the right season to say yes? Because it could be the most wonderful thing,
Mm,
but it just maybe not in this season. And so I think for us, the foundation always starts 100% with a conversation between the two of us with how what I'm taking on or not taking on is aligning with our family goals.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
really that's a cool way to do it. You do some speaking, and one of your topics is fruitful in all seasons. So I have a couple questions around that.
Yeah.
First of all, how do you determine what's fruitful? Like
Ooh,
when you look at, is this fruitful or is that fruitful? How do you determine what's fruitful and what isn't?
that's so good, Stuart. Okay, great question. Um, First and foremost, it goes back to what Phil and I see is valuable and
Yeah.
successful in our eyes. I think a lot of people, especially young women and young moms, can get very much into something and they're moving towards goals and they're moving towards dreams and they aren't necessarily their own. They are other people's
Oh,
goals
that's
and
great.
dreams and things. And so then when they don't hit those things, they get frustrated and yet that might never have been what they should have been working towards anyways. So what I see as fruitful for my family might not be for somebody else, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But getting very clear on what is it that I want to do? What are my
Right.
goals? What are my dreams? What is success to me? And I encourage people, write that definition out, write it out, because you'll get so far along your journey and start realizing you're working towards other people's definition of success. And that just leads to burnout and feeling unfruitful in all the ways. So the first step is, what does success look like to me? And that changes. It
Okay.
changes in different
Yeah.
seasons, right? So what I
Right.
was working towards in my 20s, what was fruitful then was to finish my degree, get
Right.
a really good paying job,
Yeah.
hopefully find a good God-fearing man that I could marry. Like these were things that were fruitful in my 20s. Then my 30s come along, then kids. And so this can change, just so that you know. I hope that's an encouragement too to a lot of people. It will change
Right.
as you grow
If
in
it
different.
doesn't change, you're not growing, right?
100%, right? It's going to
Right.
change. So what fruitful is to us right now is is again, for me being a homeschool mom, and it's mainly focused on the girls, is are we showing our girls what it looks like to live a Christ-centered life, what it looks like to be in community, and how to impact others? And that for us is what's fruitful right now to our 8 and 5-year-old, in their
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
kind of.
yeah, living a life like an exampled life. It's funny because Deb and I, we have 5 grandchildren now,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that we pray about and talk about
Yeah.
regularly is, it's not what we say, it's all 5 of our grandchildren, we want them to look at our relationship. Like I want, almost all of them are girls, but I want them to seek out a life partner. I want to model a life as,
Mm.
our Maga and Papa Mac. I want them to say, I want to be married like that when I'm 90 or 80 or
Right.
whatever.
Yep.
And so modeling a life is super important, right?
And that's
So
what you do. That is the fruit. I mean, you can say you're an apple tree or an orange tree, but until you produce an apple or an orange, I don't believe you're an apple or an orange
yeah,
tree. So,
yeah.
and you do that, Stuart. You do that.
How do you stay productive when in the downtimes? I mean, you come across like totally together, and for some women they're going to go, "Oh, Connie's got it all together," and all that kind of stuff. But I know, I've seen, there are times where you're pulling your hair out. How do
Oh,
you stay
totally.
productive and fruitful in those times?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, if you're in sales, you're going to learn this lesson.
Yes.
Hopefully, you learn this lesson early on. And since I've only ever been in sales since I was 16 years old, I
Yeah.
have had to figure this out both the hard way and from other people's examples. It is understanding that if God created every single season, then there is a reason for it. So
Okay.
if he didn't want there to be a winter, then he would have skipped a winter. So if the God of the universe who created everything thinks that there's a purpose for this cold, ugly, dreary winter, which I always talk about because I hate winter,
Uh,
then I need to go, okay, then I can sit here and buck at it and whine about it and wish I was in summer, or I can start learning, open up a book and read and figure out what's going on in winter to make us summer become fruitful. And so I've done that over the years. And I actually have literally studied plants and things that happen in the winter with roots and
Oh,
certain
really?
necessity. Yes, I've
Interesting.
really paralleled that to life because that is life, right? We go through what I call our winter seasons where we're just,
Yep.
things aren't popping. There's no
Right.
fruit, there's no nothing. We're either going through a health crisis or a financial or a relational. And we're going, what's going on here? And so instead of fussing and whining and hoping and praying that summer comes, we could say, okay, well, then what can I learn through this? Because there is a reason. And we are the ones that determine if we're going to let it go to waste or not. Like we always hear from our pastor, God will never waste a pain or a trial or whatever, unless you want him to. You can want him
Yeah.
to, or you can learn and see
Yeah.
what you can
You
get
can, you
through
can let
this.
it pass by and
Right,
not learn from it. But yeah,
right.
I think I saw in your speaking profile that you talk about disciplining your disappointments. Now that sounds interesting. So what does it mean to discipline your disappointments?
Okay, so I'll tell you a little quick backstory on that. My friend, dear friend, who you also know, Kendall Weldon,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I had first started in the business, gave me a book. I don't think she even knew like any, she just sent me a book, right? I had signed up and she's like, here we go. This is what you do. You send someone a book. And it has become one of my favorite books. It's called The Ambitious Woman by Esther Spina. And in that book, she talks about this, and she talks about disciplining your disappointments, and that
Hmm.
those three words, discipline your disappointments, became my business mantra. Again, I always tell
Interesting.
people, write a business phrase or a mantra or something
Right.
that you could have several that ground
Right.
you and root you and anchor you. And that was it for me for my entire next 8 years was discipline your disappointments, because wow, that was so powerful to me. And it simply means that they're inevitable, right? They are going to come. I don't care how
Right.
smart you are, how
Yeah.
rich you are, how God given talented you are, disappointments are going to come. So, what are you going to do about it? I have seen the most talented women, far more talented than me, naturally gifted, great, impactful leaders go through something disappointing. And not to say it wasn't small, these are, serious things.
Big
And it
things.
just took them out. And
Mm.
it just took the wind out of their sails. They could never recover. They were like, oh, well, I'll never do that again. And they were just out. And it's like, no, so she talks about disciplining it, meaning have the pity party if you got to have the pity party. Go call the girlfriend, have a cry fest, do what you got to do. Like, but then it's time to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and get up out of it, and or which lean on the community, right? We're big on
Right.
talking about our
Right.
community, and discipline it and learn from it and let's move on. And so I loved that. I mean, we could go into much more detail, but that's really the reality of it is it's okay to have it. We don't want to pretend we don't, especially as leaders. We don't want to shove things under the rug because they're going to get bigger and bumpier and you're going to trip on
Right.
that rug. So clean
Yeah.
it out, let it be, vent it out, and let's move on with it and let's get
Mm.
going. So,
It's interesting because in the company where we worked together, I mean, you had a huge group of people. I mean, you had a massive team. You were massively successful as a leader. What do you say, particularly to women who have tried and tried and they failed a number of times? How do you encourage them that to try again?
mhm.
Like I've always said, most of the people who are successful have actually failed 10 times more than someone who isn't successful, right?
Yeah.
Because they try. But what do you do? What's your secret sauce to getting people to try again?
Honestly, I think the first thing is just being very, as much as I can be, authentic and relatable um, in my own struggles as a big leader and someone who a lot of people would look at as up here, and up here is like, okay, but I might have achieved these things, but I'm telling you, I've only gotten there because I have disciplined the disappointments you are going through right now. I
Yeah.
have the same ones as you. I have the same problems. I have a husband who I fight with too. I have kids that, whatever is going on. I have
That talk
everything.
back from time to
Uh-huh.
time and
Yeah,
don't
just
do
for
what they're
exactly. So my encouragement always is that everybody you ever look up to doesn't have any less problems than you. They simply know how to, again, lean on the right community that's going to lift them up when they don't want to.
Mhm.
They know how to discipline those disappointments. And honestly, I feel like, and this is another thing that I did that maybe not a lot of people, especially in that industry, would do, is I gave permission to people to dream outside of just me, my team, and our organization. And I said, you know what? You do need to try again. Maybe not here,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
like a
True.
crazy, like, wait, what? Like, aren't you supposed
What?
to
Yeah.
hold on to me and
Yeah.
hoard me? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like you have
Yeah.
so many gifts and talents. Have
That's
you ever
great.
thought about, maybe trying this,
Yeah.
And so seeing people for their gifts and talents that maybe don't even benefit me or my organization gives people so much joy and freedom and go, wow, like you really care about me as a person. And I do. I want you to go do what you're called to do, if that's with me or not with me?
Right, right. It's that's interesting because I have a philosophy for I've been more in the corporate world, but of train, trade, or transition. And
Mm,
so if everybody wants to be successful, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "Wow, I just can't wait to screw things up today," or "I
totally.
can't." Everybody wants to be successful, and sometimes and I love this. I had never heard that from you before, but
Mm,
sometimes their success means not working with you anymore.
right.
Sometimes the
100%.
best thing for them. And I have actually had former employees thank me for transitioning them,
Mm,
for saying, "Hey, you know what? This isn't the right place for you." I always try to do it in love and kindness. And so that's why I go. The first thing is, well, let's train them. Like, I mean, if they're not being successful, let's try
totally.
and increase their competency. And
Yep.
if that doesn't work, maybe they're in the wrong role. Maybe I don't think everybody is meant to be a salesperson, for
Right.
example.
Right.
In your former role, maybe someone would be better doing all your events for you than they would be selling products, right? Trade them to another team and then transition is, maybe
Right.
you'd be better off. But I've literally had people come to me and go, "Thank you for letting me go because, you pointed me in a different direction and that was what was right for
And
me
that's exactly what leaders do. They
or
hopefully
should do."
should do is look at, again, those gifts and talents and shepherd them. And who comes and goes in our organization is not up to us. We are only responsible to shepherd them well for the season that we have them. And some people will stay with us forever, and some people a few months, maybe a few years. My job is simply, what can I do to pour the most into them while I have them?
Yeah, you talk a lot about seasons and fruit. I love it actually. I hope you continue to develop those topics because I think they're pretty cool. Let's get a little pragmatic. So, when Connie wakes up in the morning, what habits or disciplines help to keep you anchored and aligned with who you want to be, being the best version of yourself? Can you give some folks some tips,
Sure.
daily tips?
Yeah. Okay. So the first few things, these are very simple, but I think they're becoming so much more powerful than I think we give them credit for. And it is social media. Okay. Let's just start with that because it is so prevalent, and it is where I came from with that background of using that as a tool, right? And so many young working moms are. There is no social media that I let into my life until I have let the word of God speak into my morning. And it's like there's a phrase, I don't know who used to say this, but someone said, would you wake up first thing in the morning and open your front door and let the entire world come and throw its trash in your living room? You would never
No,
do that.
never.
But when you pick your phone up and you start that scroll, or you open up to the news or this or that, we weren't created to do that, by the way. We were not created
Right.
to handle this much information this fast and this bombard. It just wasn't never meant to be. So you have to really put that discipline in place. So that's my very first thing is there's no social media until I have the word of God. And because I do have little ones, I wake up extra early, and I know that looks different to everybody, but I have to get up early if I want time with them. Moms, if you're waking up and you're in the chaos with your kids and everyone's crying and screaming, and then you wonder why you're burnt out, and you how can an empty cup pour out, right?
Right.
So even if it's 5 minutes, I know some of you don't have an hour. I do at least an hour, but if it's 5 minutes, if it's something small where you're getting, God is faithful. Okay. He can expand the time that you give him. Sometimes I get in just one little word or phrase, and that's enough to get me
Yeah,
started
he
in the
had
right
two
direction.
loaves and what was it? Two fish and five
Five.
loaves fed
Yep.
5,000 people. I mean, he could take 5 minutes and turn it into, yeah,
That is
you're
exactly
absolutely right.
right. But you got to
Yeah.
give it to him. You got to start with that. So I would say those two first and foremost are non-negotiables for me. They have been for many years, and I definitely notice a difference in my day and
Hmm.
my attitude when
Yep.
those aren't there. So that's just the first little start.
That's great. So I have two closing questions. This is
Yeah.
part of our tradition. The first one is, you've had a lot of lights in your life. I would
Hmm.
love you to tell us one person, one
Mm.
individual who was a major light in your life and how they impacted you.
I'm gonna start with I would say my sister, my older
Okay.
sister Stephanie. And she I
Beautiful
would
individual. I love
yeah,
her.
she
Yeah.
is. She's amazing, incredible woman. She's only a year older than me, but she is somebody that I have seen just transform in many ways, just in her personal life. And she is one of the smartest business women I have ever known. Always has been since we were younger. She was an entrepreneur in her early 20s. And she actually gave me my first job. I worked for her. She was a general manager of an auto consulting company. She gave me my first job when I came out of the hospital after I had been dealing with some severe health things and really just kind of helped me during that season. And in that season, she taught me not just about sales and how to be bold and
Hmm.
believe in myself, because I didn't very much at that time, but she just taught me that honestly, you can do absolutely anything. The sky is the limit, even in your darkest, downest time, when you link up with somebody who truly does believe in you. And she kind of showed me early on just how to be a leader when I was barely hanging on for myself, you know? And the way she did it was not by preaching at me or saying really cool quotes or like, telling me all these fun things from books
Yeah.
she had
Yeah.
read. She truly exemplified it. And I mean, you want to talk about a leader who believes in people and sees their gifts and talents. She came alongside. She'd roll the chair up next to me.
Right.
She'd say, "Let me get on those phone calls with you so that you can call that dealer and not be sweating and be scared to talk." She just exemplified, like we were talking about, what it was to care about somebody even when they're really down and believe in them before they believed in themselves, because I didn't at that time. And I became the top salesperson of that company and eventually replaced her when she became a
Oh
mom
wow. Oh
and
wow.
decided to go on maternity leave. I ended up getting that job as the general manager of that company. And honestly, it was in a large part due to what she just showed me and exemplified to me. And she's to this day the person I'm going to call first for advice in regards to business and leadership and all of those things. And of course, the Lord too. I'm lucky she's a believer. But I would say my sister.
All right. That's a good one. Now, here's the second part of this
Okay.
is that our little tradition here is the previous guest,
Hmm.
bearing in mind that everybody who's on the podcast, the Keep Shining podcast, is a light, is successful and significant. Bearing that in mind, we asked the previous guest to give a question to this guest, not knowing who they're going to be.
Oh,
So
I love that.
the previous guest left this question, not knowing that it was going to be you who would have to answer it. How do you fuel or feed your light when it gets dim? And how do you protect that light while you're serving others? You sort of touched on it a bit with the empty cup, but what do you do to brighten your light? What do you do to fuel being a light when you're almost running out of gas?
I absolutely love that question. And I will speak to this because I literally feel like I've just kind of gone through that with this transition and this move and all
Okay.
of that. And here's my number one thing for me is I push in more and I retreat less. Tendency is to retreat and kind of like, let me move away. Like, I'm not going to maybe get as plugged in. I can't go to this Bible study or I'm not going to do the girls' nights because I need to step back and maybe assess and whatever. That's fine. You should have those moments. But I believe that one of the greatest tactics of the enemy is to get you in isolation. That is
Oh
where you
wow.
you really you really sense the darkness, right? And guess
Yeah.
what? When your light is not there, think of yourself as a match that is out. You need another match to come and touch you and relight you. You can't do that when you're in isolation and you retreat. And I've seen a lot of mamas, a lot of not mamas, just men, women
Yes. Yeah.
retreat in the darkness and it gets darker. So I would
Yes.
say go against everything that feels like you want to do that and lean into the light bearers, and they're around you. You have them. I have them. They're my church community. They're you and Deb. There's a circle of people, right? That I don't get out of that group text. I lean into it more. I ask for help more. And so for me, it's I can't relight myself. Somebody else
Okay.
has to do that. And that is why we need community. So lean in when you feel like you want to retreat.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so now you get the
Oh,
opportunity to craft a question for the next
hmm.
person.
Okay.
Now, I know who the next person is
Okay.
already, and so I'm kind of excited to hear your question.
I would say from somebody who is successful in
Mhm.
their certain industry, whatever that is, I would want to know what was the most impactful thing that you did that you believe brought the most light, and was it surprising to you?
Oh, that's
So
a good one.
basically, yeah, like where did you find your biggest significance or place of impact?
Mhm.
I want to know what that looked like in your success journey. What was that?
Okay,
Does
that's a
that
great
make
one.
sense? And did it
No, it
surprise you? Because
does.
I'm assuming maybe it did. I don't
Yeah,
know.
sometimes it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, Connie, we talk
Okay.
on a regular basis. We're in a little encouraging text thread on a regular basis,
Okay.
but it's just this has been fun. It's been
It
fun to
is. I
just
was so
sit and
excited.
chat. Yeah. So thank you for doing this. I hope to see you on many stages in the months and weeks and months to come. But
Yes.
you have a huge light
Mm,
and you can have a huge impact to so many women. And I'm
mm.
proud to call you a friend. So
Keep
thank you.
shining, be
Thanks for being here.
alive.
All
Thank
right.
You
you.
were
Take
made
care.
to be
All
a
right. Take care.
lighthouse, shine
Bye.
Bye bye.
bright. Keep